The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
We now return to Live and Let Live on the Logos Radio Network. I'm Gary Johnson. We are live on Sunday, February 10th. And if you would like to call in, the number is 512-646-1984. That's 512-646-1984. We are talking with Richard B. Sanders, a former justice of the Washington State Supreme Court. He was on the court for 15 years, and his website is www.justicesanders.com. That's JUSTICESANDERS.com. And we're talking about the case of Linda Jordan of Seattle, a housewife who tried to challenge the eligibility of Barack Obama to be on the ballot in the 2012 election. Her case was dismissed, but what makes it particularly interesting is that the Washington State Supreme Court sanctioned her $13,000 in a sort of loser pays punishment for attorney's fees. As Judge Sanders, who is representing her, has pointed out earlier in this hour, the Attorney General actually billed the Secretary of State, whom the Attorney General was representing, more like $4,000 for this case, not $13,000. And so Judge Sanders is representing Linda Jordan and trying to get the sanction reduced. We have a call here. So, Judge, let's see what our caller has to say. Let's see if I can do this. We have Walt from New York. Walt, what do you have to say to Richard B. Sanders?
Yeah, good evening, Gary, and good evening, Judge Sanders. 2 points I want to ask about. Since the beginning of the show, I heard about this Mrs. Jordan. I haven't heard one bit of evidence that her charges that she brought forth in the court were not true. That's the first thing. No one's proved that Barack Obama's birth certificate is real. She has a legitimate complaint there, and also with the Social Security number. That's my understanding. And number two, my conscience is telling me, Judge, that this Attorney General that wants to charge Mrs. Jordan fees, he's already getting a salary from the government. I call this fraud. And you should be helping her with the merits of the case, too, besides what you're doing.
Well, I guess the Attorney General contends that the relief that she was seeking against the state Secretary of State could not be granted, no matter what the truth of the matter is. At least he persuaded the court to that effect. I thought it was improper for the Attorney General to imply, at least, to the court that the actual attorney fees charged to the Secretary of State were $13,000 without disclosing that they were really $4,000. It's another case of government overreaching. I think the Attorney General has a responsibility to represent all the people in this state to make sure that justice is done, and full disclosure, that's just part of it.
Well, my comment again is whether the court decides that money should be paid or not, if Mrs. Jordan's charges are true, then the court should forward it to the proper authorities to take action. She's correct. And again, I haven't heard an answer from you, Judge. Why is the Attorney General demanding payment? He's already getting paid. He's getting a salary to do his job. So I don't understand what you're talking about.
Don't blame the messenger here, sir. There is a court rule that says if you bring somebody into court on a frivolous case, make a frivolous argument that the court can award the other side's reasonable attorney fees. So that's the rule. And if you would like to make a different rule for the Attorney General, that would be fine with me. But as it is now, it's supposed to equally apply to private entities as well as public entities. My problem with this whole thing is I think that the way it's working out is that private citizens are at a disadvantage when it comes to litigating against the government, because the court is willing to only award at most the actual attorney fees to a private citizen, but is more inclined to double or triple that amount when it comes to making an award to the government. So, I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's equal protection, and I'm trying to do something about it.
Only thing I'd like to finish up with, Judge, is I don't think Mrs. Jordan's charges have been proved frivolous. And I also would like to see, now what state is she from? You say Washington State?
Yes, that's right.
I would like to see the Washington State Constitution and the United States Constitution where it's in there that she can't go forward with charges like that. If you got some kind of a case law and it's in conflict with the constitutions of the state and the United States, then it's meaningless, and you could fight it on those grounds. My conscience is telling me she's getting railroaded. She's getting the shaft, this lady, because no one's proven that President Obama's birth certificate is legitimate and his Social Security number. That's the issue, and everybody's just putting that aside and saying we're talking about something else instead of the issue that she brought to the court. Just because you can't. Someone says, well, you can't pay money to Mrs. Jordan even if she's correct. That makes it frivolous, her case. That's nonsense, Judge Sanders. That's my opinion.
Well, I got into the case after the court had already dismissed the case. So the only thing that I can do at this point is try to diminish this award of attorney fees.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm trying to do. I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe everything you say is true. But it's just not before the court at the moment.
Excuse me, Judge Sanders, I think
Yes,
there's
sir.
obstruction of justice in this case with those 5 judges. That's what I think. I don't think they're following moral principles.
I used to be on the court. I understand how they think. And this is a politically charged case, and as I previously indicated, had it been some other office holder under some other circumstances, they may not have dismissed the case. They may not have found it was frivolous, but this kind of argument is not finding much favor in the court system in the state of Washington or elsewhere, as far as I can tell.
Well, Judge Sanders, is President Obama's birth certificate been proven real, and his Social Security number, has it been proven, sir?
Not that I'm aware of.
Then her case is not frivolous. I mean, it isn't. She has a legitimate complaint. I don't understand what everybody's talking about. You just told me. I just heard you say that she hasn't been proven wrong with her complaint. She has a legitimate complaint with the United States, with the state of Washington about this.
Yeah, well, I think the Secretary of State was taking the position that he had this name certified by the Democratic National Committee, that is Barack Obama and Joe Biden, and that once he has that certificate from the national campaign headquarters, that he has a duty to put that name on the ballot, not to look behind the circumstances or to see whether or not Barack Obama is qualified to be a candidate. I think that was the Secretary of State's position. So they don't want to talk about the ultimate merits of the case, and that's how they got it dismissed.
Well, that's, Judge Sanders, that's corruption. They don't want to talk about the merits of the case.
Well,
all right, Walt, I thank you for some excellent questions. And we're coming up on a break in a little less than about a minute here. So I thank you for calling in, and thank you, Walt. All right, that was Walt from New York, and that's how it's done, folks. The number is 512-646-1984. That's 512-646-1984. We're talking with Richard B. Sanders, a former justice of the Washington State Supreme Court. As he pointed out, he was not involved with this case of Linda Jordan from the very beginning. It was only after she was sanctioned $13,000 that he agreed to represent her on this specific issue, which is being appealed. So he was not involved in the early stages of the case. But Walt raised an interesting question I wanted to raise with you, Judge, and that is The fact that the Attorney General says they had to use so many hours, so many billable hours, doesn't that prove that maybe the case wasn't frivolous? I'll let you answer that question after the break. You're listening to Live and Let Live on the Logos Radio Network. I'm Gary Johnson. If you want to know more about Judge Richard Sanders, you can go to his website. It's www.justicesanders.com. You can also check out Linda Jordan at obamaforgeries.com.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.